Why hello everyone, it's MIgardener and I'm behind the camera today. I decided I would do an update on the hybrid aquaponics setup here, and I have been doing a lot with this setup. I'm really excited to let you guys know that the plants have bounced back amazing. It's 4 days old and the plants are not drooping anymore. The plants were really sad because if you don't remember in that past video, I'm going to post a link to the video right there just in case you haven't seen it. But when I constructed this, I cut off a lot of branches, or a lot of leaves, a lot of side growth, and I just really limited the plants to a couple leaves per plant. And I know in the video it didn't show that, but I actually went back and did it after the video because I didn't want to stress the plants out too much, and I realized that I had left way too much foliage on for moving them from a soil growing medium to a completely water-based growing medium, and that would have just almost killed the plants had I left all those leaves on. So I ended up trimming a lot of them off, but man, they are coming back like crazy. I'm gonna do a close-up, but the plants are standing up straight, and one thing that I really like is that the plants are actually curving towards the light and they're turning ever so slightly. Any leaves that were kind of on an angle are now rotating back up towards the light, and that is what I like to see because that shows me that they're recovering from the transplant shock, they're growing towards the light, and they're receiving the light energy to produce energy for the plants. Because anytime a leaf, if this is the top of the leaf here, anytime the top of the leaf is tilted like this, as you can see, no light is hitting this part, so it's not producing any energy. But anytime the leaf turns like that, it can receive all that light energy because that has a lot more surface area and it can produce a lot more energy for you, for the plant, I mean, and then basically it's going to grow a lot better as well because it's getting, instead of 30% light coverage, it's getting almost 100% light coverage. So that's what I like to see when I see plants recovering very well. I like to see that they're turning towards the light, which is obviously a good thing. So also what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the fish because I haven't fed the fish yet, and a lot of people were asking how I feed my fish in this setup because I didn't add a slot to feed, which I should have done, but I didn't want to overcomplicate anything and risk the structural integrity. So I basically just slide it over one way or the other, and it typically doesn't affect the construction too much. It doesn't affect the plants too much. So I can even pick it up and completely move it if I really need to. And see, it just kind of sits right on top right there, which is so nice. But I'm just going to take some fish food. I typically feed them 2 times a day, once in the morning, once at night. And I feed them a pretty hefty pinch because there's 4 fish in there and they go through it like crazy. And they also will pick it off the ground as well. See, there you go. There they're feeding. I love that food. This is just the tetrafin. I'm sorry, you can't see it there. It's the tetrafin, and now it's backlit, so you still can't see it. It's the tetrafin. There you go. Goldfish flakes, and the fish absolutely love it. So, and the flakes, I might add, the flakes do float up at the top, but the bubbles will eventually bring it back down. And one thing that I hope you all can see, I'm going to zoom you in, is the recirculation. Now the recirculation, if you can see all those kind of things going back up and around, back up and around, back up and around, that is what gives this system so much success. I think this system is going to be the most logical system because it actually replicates nature to a T. Because in nature, when you have a big body of water, there's heat cycle, there's thermal cycling, where the hot water up top will cycle with the cold water down below, and the cold water comes up and the hot water goes down, and it's just thermal cycling, and it just brings up all the nutrients from the bottom of the whether it be ocean or lake or pond. It brings it back up to the surface and it recycles. It just keeps recycling, and that's what this system does. Is all these bubbles down here, all those micro bubbles, they shoot up and it creates an upward current, and it brings the top water down and then the bottom water up, and it keeps just cycling. So not only is that going to cycle the food and keep it suspended for the fish so they're not actually feeding off the bottom there, but it's actually going to be recycling nutrients as well. Because when the bacteria are down here at the very bottom, they're going to be decomposing the heavier fish food, or the heavier fish waste that can't be recycled up. But as soon as it becomes light enough, which is after it becomes decomposed, it's going to actually be able to float up with the current, and it's going to feed the roots just as if it would in nature. And that's what I love about this system, is it's so simple and it's so easy to see how nature works with this setup versus a multi-system setup where you have the fish here and then a pump and then the plants. This is all enclosed and I love it. I would not go with a different setup, and I think it's actually working great. For my first trial, I think it's actually going amazing. Now we're going to come in for a close-up on these plants, and I mean, as you can see by the plants up there, everything is, I mean, they're no longer, which is great, they're no longer limp. They're actually sturdy, meaning that they're getting water and nutrients up in the stems, and it's making them rigid again. I trimmed all of these back. This one, no big leaves. It was really not responding well. This one was a bad plant for responding to transplant shock. So I trimmed off all the leaves, and I'm so excited to see that everything is bouncing back. Look, there's side growth there, there's side growth there, side growth there, side growth right there, and it really shows that this plant is actually growing, because there was none of that. Talking about this plant right here, this plant, look at all that side growth. There was none of that even a day ago. It's all grown very quickly. And then over here you see again all of these beautiful leaves that and by the way, if you think this is actually drooping because it's not surviving, these leaves are always droopy. Basil leaves always droop down like that. That's just how they look. They always look sick. But they're growing, they're putting out new leaves up at the top, and they're actually standing up straight, which is again what I like to see. The one thing I'm slightly concerned about is the parsley. The parsley has decent roots, which I'll show you also in a second, the roots of the plants. But it just, I don't know if it's just not liking the nutrient solution that the fish are putting out, or if it just doesn't like being in water. I really don't know. But it's not really responding too well. It has strengthened up. The leaves are, the leaves are rigid. They're not drooping because they're in shock. They're just drooping because they're heavy, and that's normally what they do. But even the leaves back there, see, they're standing up, but they're just not growing as much as I would have hoped. And maybe that's just because it's a new setup and they're still kind of in that kind of phase where they're not really growing and they're not really dying. They're kind of just waiting for something to happen. They're kind of in that limbo phase. That might be the case with this, but we'll just have to check that out, and I'll keep you all updated on that as well. Now I'm going to show you the part that everybody likes to see, the roots. Now I can't say there's a whole ton of roots yet. Like I said, they're still young plants from where they were. They they lost a lot of roots, and so they're coming back. But I mean, look at the root system on that. I mean, I'm definitely not very disappointed with that right there. The one that's very impressive is this one. It's kind of dark, but there you can see all those roots. They're starting to put out a lot of nice white roots, even the ones in the back. The roots there, so there you can see that. There's roots there. So they're putting out some decent roots, whereas they never had those before, because the net cup, the cup held all the roots, and there was nothing kind of getting out. Whereas now they're actually dangling into the water, which is showing me that the roots are growing, and the roots are white, which is good, because that shows me that they're not gaining algae, which means that this white light blocker paint coating, whatever this is, a light blocker. The light blocker is actually working to block the light to prevent algae from growing on the roots, which is also not good because it prevents the oxygen and nutrient intake into the root system. So you definitely don't want that either. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I know that it was very close to all the other episodes, but I will be reducing the amount of uploads because I am going to be going back to school very soon. But I just wanted to get out a lot of episodes for you all to watch and to enjoy and to really kick off the new year. Plus, I love using the new camera. But I'll keep you all updated on this set. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to tell you it did. I'm going to bring you all along for the failures and the successes. And right now, I got no complaints. I think it is working, but it might be a little bit too early to claim it as a success. I got to see some growth, maybe even a harvest of some basil and parsley before I consider it a true success. But I do consider it a success that they're not drooping and dying anymore, which is also a plus. But yeah, I'll catch you all next episode. And as always, this is MIgardener reminding you to grow big or go home. I'll talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.